stretching across the flat, cracked earth. On one side of an invisible line stood the soldiers of Eldoria, their uniforms the color of sand, their faces hard and set. On the other side stood the soldiers of Viridia, their green fatigues a stark contrast to the pale ground. They were young men, most of them, with eyes that held more questions than answers. They stared at each other across a few hundred yards of nothing, a no-man's land that their leaders called a border that both sides claimed as their own. It was a line drawn in dust, but it felt as solid and as cold as a wall of steel. Each soldier held his rifle tight, the metal cool against his skin. The silence was heavy, broken only by the soft whisper of the wind kicking up little dust devils that danced between the two armies. The general stood at the front, maps in hand, pointing and shouting across the divide. Their words were lost to the wind, but their anger was clear. They were like two stubborn rams, heads down, ready to charge over a patch of grass that wasn't big enough for both. The soldiers behind them were just boys, really. Boys who had woken up that morning, eaten their dry bread, and marched to this line, all because someone with a fancier hat told them to. They didn't hate the men opposite, they didn't even know them. I remember the feeling in my gut. It was a knot of fear and something else, something like confusion. We were told this land was ours, that it had been for generations. We were told the people on the other side were thieves, trying to take what was rightfully ours. But as I looked at the soldiers facing me, I saw no thieves. I saw boys my own age, with tired eyes and nervous hands. They looked just as scared as I felt. The sun climbed higher, beating down on our helmets, making the air thick and hard to breathe. The tension was a living thing, a coiled snake waiting to strike. Every breath felt like a risk, every gust of wind like a warning. The generals kept arguing, their voices growing louder, more desperate. They were old men, their faces wrinkled with years of pride and old grudges. They spoke of history, of treaties, of blood and soil. But all we could see was the dust and the sun and the faces of other young men who were probably thinking about their homes, their mothers, their sweethearts. They were not thinking of borders. They were thinking of staying alive. The line between our countries was not just on a map. It was now a line between life and death. And we were all standing on the edge, waiting for someone to tell us which way to fall. The world held its breath, and so did we. No one ever knew for sure what caused it. Some said it was a nervous soldier whose finger slipped. Others whispered it was a deliberate act, a signal from a hidden commander. But what we all heard was the explosion. It was a deafening roar that ripped through the morning silence, a sound so violent it felt like the sky itself had cracked open. A cloud of black smoke and orange fire erupted from the Viridian side, sending a shockwave that knocked men off their feet. For a single heart-stopping moment, everything was still. The dust settled, and a ringing filled our ears. The shouting stopped. The wind died down. There was only the smoke, rising like a dark question mark into the clean blue sky. Then came the chaos. It started with a single gunshot, then another, and then 1,000 more.